Say so long to summer and celebrate Labor Day with a visit to your friendly neighborhood Vons. You'll find great deals on fresh favorites for a fun gathering with friends and family. Shop with your club card and get boneless, skinless chicken breasts or thighs sold in value packs of 3 pounds or more for just $1.69 a pound. And pick up fresh, locally grown whole seedless watermelons for only $2.99 each. Tastier meats, sweeter produce, better celebrations. Vons. Fact is, it's just better.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, and welcome to Conscious Talk Radio, and I'm your host, Linda Summers, and these shows are all about relationships and all that encompasses. And the guest experts on the show will be providing you with information as to how you can become more connected with yourself. And today's topic is respect and commitment. Have we lost these values in today's society, with Adrienne Blumberg? And before I bring her on board, I'd like to give you some background information about her. Adrienne has worked with children, teens, adults, and families for the past 30 years plus. As an educator, mentor, supervisor, spouse, and mother, she has come full circle, ending up in her most passionate job ever, a marriage and family therapist. Born in Windsor, Canada, and educated in Toronto and later in San Diego, where she obtained her master's in marriage and family therapy. Her life experiences has allowed her to be compassionate, caring, and trusting therapist for the thousands of individuals that have crossed her professional world. She, too, went through her own therapy process, which was twofold. She needed to know what it would be like sitting on the couch rather than wearing a therapy hat. It is being vulnerable, trusting, and a willingness to learn about yourself and take that journey with a trusted professional. Her gift is that of a good listener, being compassionate and really going deep within her clients, even though it may not seem that way. Life is not black or white. It is many shades of gray. No judgment, just being present with whoever's in the room, providing a safe environment. Also, her book on parenting will be out December 2016, a book on parenting that is different than all parenting books out there. And with that, I'd love to welcome Adrienne to the show. Hi, Adrienne.
Hi, Linda. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you, and thank you for being on the show today. I know you're busy, so we really appreciate you being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure, and thank you so much for having me. I'm honored.
You're welcome. And, you know, I've been thinking about this topic since you have mentioned it, and it's such a topic that I think we have lost touch of and really have lost sight of. And so I really love this topic about respect and commitment. It's so important, I think, in our lives and in our world and our relationships and everything. So
it is, you know, with respect to, pardon the pun, with respect to respect and commitment, it is a really important everybody's life. We are quick to criticize. We are quick to judge others, but we have to take a look at ourselves, and we have to see what role we play, what part we play in the realm of respect and commitment. So as you had mentioned, and with regards to awakening the consciousness and bringing awareness and connection, I think it's really important. I know it's really important that we have to connect to ourselves first. We have to understand ourselves first before we can go out there and really try to understand other people and where they're coming from.
Absolutely, and you talked about a willingness to learn about yourself and take that journey, and we know it really does begin with us. And sometimes it's an uncomfortable journey, but if it's one that when we look at, we can really shift our own perspective and see, and that's really what you do and are very, very good at. And so,
thank you. And you know what? It is a challenge, and you know we're always up for challenges. If you look on Facebook, if you listen on the radio, if you listen in the newspaper, there's always challenges, you know, that are put forth for the public. Why can't you challenge yourself? I mean, I think that's the highest level of challenge one can have, is taking a look at oneself and challenging yourself to be a better person, to understand what respect is, what's it like when you don't get respect. Try and put yourself on the other side of the spectrum, and with regards to commitment. And I see this day in and day out, you know, in my office, and it starts with kids, it goes to teens, adults, and it goes up to married couples, individuals. There is a thread that is woven through, and respect and commitment always rear their ugly heads with regards to not feeling respected. There's no commitment. I will have parents in here talking with respect to their children. They don't respect me. They don't listen to me. They don't follow the rules. Everything boils down to the baseline of respect and commitment. So with that said, it's really an important quality to have. And I will start with respect. You know, everybody wants respect, but not necessarily knowing how to give it. And there are a lot of triggers that can happen that can impact respect and impact how you treat others. And if you're in a relationship, for example, and you are arguing with your partner, you ask yourself, well, why aren't you respecting me? And the other person will say, but I am respecting you. So it's really a definition of the word. Is it that somebody is being truthful and honest, that you take that as disrespect? So, you know, there's different ways of looking at it.
And wouldn't you also say perception of the word respect, of how you perceive it and how your upbringing or your filters or experiences have, you know, for you to come to that realization that of what you know as respect?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I can only go by the individuals, you know, the people that walk through my door. And believe me, there have been many people walking through my door over the past 30 years. So, you know, when you are looking at it, it has a lot to do with how you were raised, environmental factors, whether your parents had an intact marriage, whether you heard a lot of fighting and arguing. And the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. We are role models. We are role models to our peers. We are role models to our family. We are role models in our workplace. We are role models to basically everybody who aspires and looks up to us. And if you have not been presented in life with good values and good role models, how are you expected to be any different? You pick up. Exactly. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and that is just so true. If you have role models, parents, or whoever is raising you, or whoever is in your environment, that is who you are going to aspire to.
Yeah.
And it makes it really, really challenging. But then on the flip side of it, you have individuals who have come from, you know, volatile relationships or a volatile family that says, you know what? When I go out into that world, I want to be the farthest thing from what I experienced in life. And they make a 360, 180-degree turn, but that comes from within self. You have to have a strong belief system in yourself. You have to have a strong sense of self and self-awareness to come to that belief system to take you out of the system that you came from. And that's really hard. That's the strength of an individual. So you have people who follow patterns from generation to generation, and that's how they live life. But you have others who can stand outside based on their young life experiences and say, no, this is not right. This is not okay. It's not okay to disrespect somebody. It's not okay to talk that way to somebody. And you can internalize what works for you, and you just move forward with that. And
Absolutely.
And, you know, I even see it, and I'm breaking down now when we have our millennials, we have our Gen X, we have our baby boomers. And, you know, the baby boomers are, you know, anyone from the age of 52 upwards to 70. And that's a great deal of the population. There's a lot of us. And, you know, evidence shows that these baby boomers, they did work hard for what they had. They came upon good times. But evidence shows that it was all about me. Very narcissistic group of people that we are. And what happens is these baby boomers now have, a lot of the millennium children between the ages of 18 and 34. So if they are brought up in an environment where they are given everything, there's no value, you're not being held accountable for and towards commitment, which is the next big word, they grow up entitled to everything that comes their way. And you find, too, that the millennium kids, they're not always happy because instant gratification, and no blame to the technical, the technical world with the phones and the iPads and, and the computers and getting information ASAP rather than having to wait. They are brought up in these times, and the same thing goes with work. They go from one job to another job to another job. If a boss looks at them the wrong way, if a coworker says something that they don't like, they're off to their next adventure. So commitment is really tough with the kids 18 to 34 years of age. And then you have the Gen X. So some of the Gen X between 35 and 50, 51 years of age do have millennium babies as well. But they are the sandwich generation between the boomers. And I think that the Gen X, as they say, they are highly educated, but they give too. There's not that idea of respect. There's not that idea of commitment because they still feel that they're entitled.
Don't you think too that we know that it begins with ourselves, but I think in a lot of and probably the most of the situations is our parenting. So I think parenting is really important, and which is so wonderful that you have this book coming out that's going to be unlike any other parenting book. That it really begins with the parents as well. If they can have the understanding of how they were brought up and make that decision, but it's about going within themselves. And if they are wanting their children respect, they have to respect themselves first in order to get respect.
Absolutely. And they have to not only respect themselves. If you want your children to respect you, you have to respect your children. It is a reciprocity, And yes, your parents are older, quote, supposedly wiser, but they're not always right. And we always looked at our parents, they wanted the best for you, but they're not always right. They have experience, but times are different. So with regards to good parenting, it's hard to be a good parent. When your children are born, you are not given a manual parenting 101 on the birthing table saying, here you go, teen years. It doesn't happen. It's through trial and error. It's through experience, and it's through good role modeling and instilling good values. And with regards to the parenting, if the children see that the parents are respectful towards each other, they're respectful out in public, they don't slam other individuals when the children are in the room, let alone other individuals, let alone the parents, that, the kids are seeing mom and dad being disrespectful to each other. So it has a lot to do with the way they are raised, what they are exposed to, and basically changing the way one thinks. It's changing the behaviors. And I have so many parents that come in wanting to know what they're doing wrong. And then you hear, well, they don't abide by rules. They are not adhering to boundaries. Their values are wishy-washy. It changes from one day to the next. Well, you're sending mixed messages to your kids, so how can your child understand what you expect of them when you don't even know what you expect of yourself?
Right. Yes, absolutely. So what are some ways we can know how to give respect for the people that are listening and have children, or even for themselves as well?
Okay, that's a really great question. For example, I will do a lot of parent interaction when the parents come in here, because I want to see how they react to their children, what the respect is like, how, with regards to even commitment. And a parent will say to me, you know what, I will call them fears. And the volume gets louder and louder and louder. But what happens is it falls on deaf ears. The louder it is, all they hear is a humming. All they are hearing is a buzzing. So my question is, well, how are you asking your child? Where are you when you're talking to your child or your teen for that matter? They're not in the same room. One is in the kitchen, one is upstairs in the bedroom. They're not going to hear anything. Everybody needs to have that eye contact. Everybody needs to be able to have that physicality, that physical proximity in order to understand what is being asked of them. And that is being respectful. And you will hear, well, he doesn't respect me or she doesn't respect me. And they want me to make a commitment when they can't even make a commitment. They have chores, they have responsibilities, and they're not following through. But when you dig deeper, you find out that parents don't hold to their commitments to their children. And then the disrespect comes, well, Mom, you lied to me. Dad, you lied to me. You told us we were going to do this. Well, things changed. Well, it doesn't work that way. Teens learn from the experiences that they have. And the experience is what is happening within the family. And respect is of the utmost importance. Eye-to-eye contact, communication, listening, hearing what each other is saying, and never mind in the family, Linda, you out into the workplace. How many times do you have to ask someone? And I mean, I hear this. Well, I have employees. I don't know how many times I have to tell them they just can't get it the right way. And you send it in an email. You send it in a text. Oh, I didn't get that. I didn't read it. I didn't understand it. And, it's the whole level of being able to communicate effectively. And if you can communicate effectively, you're going to have respect. If you're going to communicate effectively, you're going to have commitment.
Yes. Well, and something you were saying, too, when you're telling someone, and I know this is true for me, and everything you were saying, I used to tell my kids the same thing, and be telling them, and they're like, you're not even listening. And I realized, oh, my gosh, I'm not listening. So, but something that I know for myself, and I don't know, I'm sure a lot of other people can relate, and you probably can relate, is if someone tells me what to do versus asking me, it's a big difference for me. How I'm being told versus asking. Because for telling, like I have a different filter on that, right? Like if I'm being told in a way that the volume of the voice and how they're communicating, their posture, their physicality and everything versus being asked.
So let me ask you something. Right. So let me ask you something then. What is the difference between how do you feel? What's going on inside you when someone is telling you something as opposed to asking you?
Right. I think there's an authoritarian thing that's gone on growing up. So it all really goes back to my father being told what to do. It's like a force of doing something that maybe I didn't want to do, a chore or whatever it was being asked of me, right? So I think that comes, so this really is so interesting because it does go back, because I still have this today, that it's like I don't want to be told what to do. I'd rather be asked. So very interesting.
Right, and it's interesting also that most people would like to be asked because that's a sense of validation. Individual respects your opinion. If you're being told, it's associated with not respecting the individual, and you don't take into consideration what that individual has to say. So it's a mindset, and it you can tie in so many words with respect and commitment. So many words. It just is a domino effect.
Oh my
I'm
gosh,
sorry.
I would never have related. Oh, I would say that's so interesting because I would never have related and when I think about it, the way you just described it is definitely about respect, because being told, right, is
right.
Is it? It's just, so there's not respect there. So,
And it even starts when your children are really, really young. Give them choices. Give them choices of things that you would like to have. But then, rather than you telling them what to do, they're going to rebel just for the sake that you have told them. Even if they want it, they're going to come back at you with opposition. So if there's something that you want them to do, or you're giving them a choice. Choices age-wise also. You can give a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, with regards to the choices they have. Are you going to wear your blue shirt, or are you going to wear your red shirt? You're not going to give them choices of something that is greater than a 4-year-old can really comprehend. So giving them choices is absolutely wonderful, because to you it really doesn't make a difference if they wear their red shirt or their blue shirt, but you're giving them the option to choose, and then that leads you into another thing. When you are always being told what to do, your control is being sucked from you. You don't have your control. So what happens? You defy. There's a lot of defiance that will happen, a lot of parental struggle that will happen. And then as the kids get older, the only thing that they end up being able to control, kids can develop food eating disorders, because that's the only thing they can control is what goes into their mouth and what comes out of their mouth. And it manifests in different ways, just from a simple thing of always being told what to do.
Right. That's so true. And when you were saying that, what came to me as well is treat others as you would want to be treated. So it's like the parents, would they want to be treated if they really think about how they're treating their children or their people at work or their friends or their loved ones or their partner. If you're treating them, that's how you would want to be treated. So I think if we can really be consciously aware, is it going to be a key as well.
And you know what? That is so idealistic, and that is just so wonderful to be able to think that way. But you can only think that way and be upheld to that level of thinking if you have a good sense of self, if you feel good about yourself. Because if you don't feel good about yourself, saying, do unto others as you would want them to do unto you, it has no meaning to it, because you don't have any self-worth, or you don't have a positive self-image of yourself. So that doesn't mean anything to you. So it really starts from personal self. And when you can get a good sense of self and who you are and what's important to you and what you're going to put up with, what you're not going to put up with, being able to be flexible, being able to work on that continuum, and being a compassionate individual, then everything that you have just said will follow suit, because that is typical. But if you don't have a typical upbringing, and if you don't have a nurturing environment, and an environment where learning can happen, and you're growing from every experience that you have, it makes it very, very challenging. And that's where therapists come in, because people find themselves in my office with all of these dilemmas, and then when you go back and you take a history, you can connect the dots, and you find out where everything is stemming from.
Right. There's an origin, absolutely. How can we get to that place then? That's true. I continue to work, because it's my choice to do that, to work on myself and see every experience as a learning experience and growing. But how, for people who are not in that place, how can they begin?
They can begin by really looking in the mirror, taking a look at themselves, and really seeing what they love about themselves and the things that they don't like about themselves. And I always will ask, individuals that are coming in that may have self-esteem issues, things that are holding them back, and a lot of teenagers too that are coming in. Well, tell me what you like about yourself, and they'll give me a list of what don't you like about yourself. So then that's a starting point, because then they have a map. They have a road map, and they will say, this is really what I like, and this is not what I like. Well, are you ready to start to change that? I'll give you an example. I had a family in yesterday, and I have these wonderful cards, and they are called Who Am I? I met with the teenager before I met with the parents, and she went through these cards, and I said, you know what? Pull out 20 cards and of what resonates with you. She's going through them, and I said, take 10 out of the 20, and then eventually take 5 that really, really resonate with you, of how you see yourself, and pretty positive. She really saw herself with a good sense of self. I had parents come in, and she was out. She left the office, and I gave the parents the same exercise. And I said, but look, I want you to pick out 20 cards that resonate with your daughter, how they saw their daughter. And they went through it, and they both sat on the couch, and they're looking, and they're saying, no, this one, no, that one, no, this one. They eventually wheedled it down to the 5 cards. There was 1 card out of the 5 that were the same. So they saw their child, their teen, their prepubescent, lovely little girl differently than she saw herself. And there it was. That was the golden key that unlocked the gate. Wow. Parents had a vision of her. Expectations were driven home, and the girl had a completely different view of herself, and that's where the battle was. So now we know what we need to work on. So it's just interesting. Wow. It's fascinating. It's fascinating how each individual views oneself, and as adults, it's really important to ask, are we happy with ourselves? Would we love ourselves? Would we want to be friends with ourselves? If we saw ourselves in a restaurant, or if we saw ourselves, at a party, would we gravitate towards ourselves? You have to ask yourself that question. If you want to be friends with yourself. And if you say yes, then you can start the work.
Absolutely. And what I also love, too, about what you're saying is that, who asks those questions when people come in, especially in therapy. I think that's like really what's wrong, and they go deep, as opposed to, what is it about that you love about yourself? What do you love doing in life? I mean, are we really asking those questions outside of a therapy office as well, to ourselves and to other people who are made, to our children? Are we asking, what are your values? What are your your beliefs, right? Because I know I did that with my kids, and it's very interesting. So I think it's asking, really, I love that, because it's about asking these questions and start to become aware.
Right, and holding yourself accountable and being committed to the change that you want to make. And it starts, when these situations present themselves, because you take whatever you do in the therapy room or the counseling room or wherever you are working with an individual, and it doesn't stop there. You take it with you, and you hold on to it, and you learn from it, and you grow from it, and dig a little deeper, and you learn a little more. And it's amazing to see the changes that individuals can make, but you have to want it. Nobody can make you do it. A therapist can't make you do it. Parents can't make you do it. Spouses can't make each other do it. Partners can't make each other do it. You have to want to do it on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'd be just a much better world and relationship and everything that we do, not just with people, but everything we have in life. If we have that respect and commitment to ourselves, then we can bring that outward into life.
Absolutely.
So do you offer free consultations? If someone wanted to get a hold of you, can you give your website? Because this will all be on the video as well.
Oh, yeah. No. That's fine. Do you have my website information?
Yes, I do, and I have it. So I thought we'd go ahead and talk about it online as well.
No, that's fine. I do consultations, and generally speaking, when someone calls me, I spend time with them on the phone. So it could be anywhere from 15 minutes to 45 minutes. I mean, it's no charge for that. It's, you can call me, you can ask me whatever questions, you can tell me what the issues are, what the concerns are. I will map something out, and if you're interested in pursuing, then you can book an appointment.
Perfect. And we'll have all that information for everybody that's listening now, and then afterwards we'll have all her information on the video as well. And then you also mentioned about a special offer that you're going to have for the Conscious Talk Radio people. Your free session?
Yes.
You want to mention that?
Yes. Yeah, that would be terrific. If anybody who is listening and wants to embark on the therapy process or is interested in just digging a little bit deeper, I encourage you to call, identify yourself from the radio show that you had heard, the broadcast, and you can come in, and there will be no charge for your session, and see if it's something that works for you. Yes.
Okay, the first person who calls. So one last question I have for you. What is it that something in your life that has changed that made an impact on you that you would want to let the listeners know about for yourself?
What has impacted me? Oh, gosh. I think it was the way I was raised. My parents were Holocaust survivors, and I'm first generation in Canada. And truth be told, I saw how hard they worked given the life that they had and the life that they came from, and how they raised my sister and I to be strong, not to be fearful, to make sure that you can stand on your own 2 feet, college, be a professional, and always the positive. The cup was never half empty. It was continuously overflowing. And that to this day resonates with me when I want to do anything, how I raise my children, how I instilled values, how my husband and I both instilled values, in our kids. And it was from the positivity and the upbringing that I have, that you work hard, you can accomplish, no one can tell you what to do, you have a mind of your own, and let yourself grow and just move forward. And that has stayed with me my whole life, and it will for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Well, Adrienne, thank you again so much for being and sharing this and doing what you're doing, and we can't wait to have your book come out. So how can people chat about the book when it comes out in December? Because we're not too far from that.
It's not too far, no. It will be on, I am sure it will be available on Amazon, and I will get you more information as I get more information, and we can move forward from there. I don't have a title for the book, and it is a new way of, it's not a how-to-do book, like, for example, how to potty train or how to, whatever. It's real life experiences from all of my clients, and it will resonate. There will be parts of each of the book that will resonate with everybody who reads it. So I'm really excited about it.
Wow. Well, congratulations, and love it. Thank you again.
Thank you.
So
and
much
thank you for having me. My pleasure.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
Have
we want
a
to thank
great
all the
weekend.
Listeners. Thank you. You too. We want to thank all the listeners out there who joined us today, and the ones who will be joining us via YouTube. We thank you so much, and please don't forget to follow, subscribe, comment, and like us. And you can join me next week, September 15th, for the next show, The New Relationship Blueprint with Maya and Zaire. And so, again, Adrienne, thank you so much for being on the show. And, this message of respect and commitment is huge for ourselves first and foremost. And so we thank you for what you're doing in the world.
My pleasure. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thank you. You too. We'll see everybody next week. Thank you. Bye.
Never stop streaming. Only T-Mobile lets your family stream music and video on the most popular services like YouTube and Pandora without using any of your LTE data. And right now, get your family 3 lines, each with 6 gigs of LTE data for just $40 per line, and your 4th line is free. Hurry to T-Mobile or call 1-800-T-Mobile now.
Limited time offer subject to change. OAC plus taxes and fees. Detectable video typically streams at DVD quality. Third-party subscription charges may apply. Streaming on included services on qualifying plan on our network. See data management practices at T-Mobile.com.